So we'll call this meeting of the Capital Planning Committee into order at 3:05. And I don't have the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, yeah, I have them. I sent them to you. I think.
Oh, I didn't.
I'll
I
double
didn't
check.
get
I can print them out.
them. Okay,
You can go ahead.
so and our first presenter today is going to be Cindy Courier from the Council on Aging. Hi there, Cindy.
Hello.
You've got two things here, so let's get started. You've got a car and a home.
Correct.
Okay.
The necessities.
So would you like to get started?
So the first item I had requested was to build a new senior center. We are currently, as you know, in rented space, and we are already outgrowing the space that we're in. So we were in the Newbury Elementary School in a classroom, having to use outside locations to put on some of our programs. We moved here to Kent Way. I'm still using outside locations to put on some of our programs. For example, we use the field house at the Central Street playing fields for exercise classes. We were using Peter Hall for events up until recently. That's become an issue for us. So now I'm looking elsewhere. So we have an event in March that's going to be held here at Kent Way. My problem is I have to limit the number of people I can host at that event because of space constraints. So we're looking for a new home.
Okay. This is going to be more than what we're going to be undertaking at one meeting.
Yep.
What we're looking for, what we will be looking for from the Capital Planning Committee is a few things. One, the type and size of space you're looking for. Two, the current cost of what your budget is for space in this year, and we should be able to get that from the administrator so that we can look at what a break-even budget would look like for a new space over a period of time that that space would be usable.
Okay.
And so that it's going to take some time to get that done, but we get started on that, and it should be a pretty straightforward piece, and then we would flesh that out, make a plan, however that works out, and then that would go before the voters, because that would be a pretty extensive project. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Any questions? Any comments?
Not yet.
Okay.
So you would like us to submit the space requirements that we have developed to the Capital Planning Committee?
That's correct.
And do you want that in total square footage or in individual space by space?
You know, however you have it, the more information we get, the easier it's going to be to formulate something to go forward with. And this is a dialogue, so we can go back and forth with this offline before we bring it back to one of the Capital Planning Committee's meetings.
Sounds good. Well, we can certainly share with you what we have created so far, and as you said, it's an ongoing dialogue. So we expect both with the voters in Newbury and the Capital Planning and Select Board to have a continuing conversation.
What is the term of the lease for the space downstairs?
I believe it 2027.
It ends on May 14th of 2027.
ideally we'd be in a new space by then, but the ideal and Newbury politics rarely go
Okay.
together.
Right.
What have you been smoking?
I said rarely.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right, so, let's just, say that we'll take the rest of this project offline. We'll get a lot of information. We'll work up something so that we have, when we come back to capital planning, the next time we've got some more definitive information to go. And then Cindy, your next ask is,
For a vehicle, whether it be like a sedan or a small kind of crossover vehicle. We have our van, 14-passenger van. It is wheelchair
Yep.
accessible. We use that every week. It's awesome. People love it. We're able to get people shopping to different events. Right now, we're helping someone who is wheelchair bound, and we get this person to and from medical appointments. It's been really wonderful. They've been spending a ton of money trying to get this person to and from appointments. And we have this vehicle and they connected with us and we've been able to do that. That's all well and good. Occasionally, we have someone who might need a local medical appointment. It might contradict the time that we have the van scheduled for something else. My thought was to have another vehicle accessible that the COA staff could operate. None of us have the training for the van. I don't think there's a huge interest for any of the staff here outside of the van driver to drive that vehicle. But it would give us another opportunity to help people get where they need to go locally. Also, I will tell you, sometimes people are calling us sort of in a pinch. I need to get to my doctor's appointment tomorrow and I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anyone to help me. We do use the NEAT program, which is a volunteer program in the Merrimack Valley. I want to say there's 13 towns, cities and towns that are involved in that. Again, it's a volunteer driving program. It takes time. So you have to list your ride. A volunteer has to pick up the ride and then hopefully they follow through with it. So having another vehicle here would be helpful to get people sort of on a one-on-one basis where they need to go. Whether it's in an emergency type situation where they don't, all of a sudden they don't have a ride, or we could certainly plan it out that one of the staff members can be driving someone to a medical appointment. Or if they need to go to the post office or go to their lawyer's office, whatever the errand might be.
And would this be also a support vehicle should you or your staff need to run errands?
We use our own vehicles for that, but if that's something that would be allowed, we could certainly, instead of mileage reimbursement with our own vehicles, we could use that vehicle, certainly.
And are you looking for new or used?
Whatever you're willing to do.
Well, what I'm thinking is, I was wondering if there might be any other, or any vehicle that might come surplus that might be acceptable for this kind of work.
So the only vehicles that we typically surplus are
Police-
cruisers.
Yeah,
The next cruiser that's up is next year, and that will be surplus to Shellfish Constable. So it would be 2 years out before we do that.
Okay.
Yep.
so we don't have one available for 2 years.
No.
Okay,
But I also just ask,
yeah,
are those cruisers SUVs? Because I would say to you that that might be a challenge for some of our folks.
Yes,
Oh,
they are.
yes, they are. Now, would the SUV be a challenge? 'Cause
I'm thinking, yeah, some of them can't get that's why I was thinking more of a sedan or a crossover would be a little bit lower to the ground, easier for some of our folks to get in and out of.
Well, it's a great point. And looking at picking up something that would be a small SUV that somebody could literally sit down into would be, like, I've got a Chevy Bolt now that would
Or
work that really well. And let me ask, are you a gas or electric?
So the only thing I'm thinking of is for an electric vehicle where I would need to, there's no charging stations here. We would just need to, have the vehicle.
Yep.
We just installed one at the library and
Yeah.
at Mantor Field, so those are the two
Yep.
closest probably to this location.
So would the council on aging ever pay for cab fare for somebody that needs?
So we do have a fund, so the Newburyport Chocolate Tour every year donates money to the Council on Aging for transportation, so we do have a fund for that. And we use that if the van is not available and there's no neat driver available. So we do use that as well.
So would that be available then to offset some of the cost of a vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any questions from Richard? Any questions?
I see you put a priority 3. Is that what's the real priority?
It's not urgent. It's certainly
Not
not urgent, no.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
Damon?
It's not a high priority, but it's also not a high cost item. So I think the priority may want to be slightly, it's not urgent, but it's not expensive. So it may want to move up a little bit because it could be taken care of in a standard budget without raising taxes. So, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, it's a capital expenditure, and so we would code it as a capital expenditure. And that would be a little different than operating budget, even though there would be some costs, an operating cost for it.
Yep.
Okay, Joe. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Thanks, Joe. Nick?
No questions.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. And now, Jonathan. Right. We'll have Jonathan with us to talk
Lovely.
about updating the website. All right. Come sit down. All right,
Perfect.
okay. So we have. Okay. Talk to us about the website and where we're going.
So, the website, project number IT 2026-2. Currently, the town of Newbury's websites are pretty distributed across multiple surfaces. There is a website for the fire department, the police department, the municipal offices, the historical committee, and the public education government TV service.
Oh, wow.
as well as we could call it a website, it's more of a third-party vendor tool that the Recreation Committee uses as well. We have many such tools. All of them are disparate, so they come from different vendors with different support paths and different management challenges. As a result, the end users have a lot of difficulty in determining where IT service can be had when IT service is needed. In addition to no real budgetary and technical analysis tools available to determine if what's been purchased under those packages are either meeting the need or exceeding the need of the specific user. In addition to this, it's a very loose arrangement of cybersecurity controls. There's a lot of room for improvement, as well as cybersecurity concerns for maintaining, protecting, and preventing acts of web vandalism whereby an intruder would replace a normal website with material otherwise inappropriate
Mhm.
or of a political nature or of pretty much anything you feel to put in there. That's a pretty common form of attack. There are others. So this is a set of vulnerabilities as well as some budgetary planning and managerial issues when it comes to the change of staff and the change of board members. On top of all of these challenges, we also have a deadline in April 2027 for ADA Act compliance due to a Supreme Court decision in 2024, mid-2024, I believe, defining town websites as equivalent to town municipal buildings or notice boards, whereby they must be made accessible under the terms of the ADA. ADA compliance on websites is a challenge all of its own because of the nature of websites. They were not originally designed in their first version back in Web 1.0. And that design lack persists to this day, where ADA compliance is achieved through third-party products that are plugged into a website to ensure that nothing that's uploaded puts the website back out of compliance. That's a major challenge that can occur.
So could you tell me what an EDA compliant feature would be?
Absolutely. An example of an EDA compliant feature would be a screen magnifying tool, a color changing tool, a font adjustment tool. All three of these adjust the visual structure of a website so that someone with vision challenges or a processing challenge such as dyslexia or dysmenorrhea is able to adjust the form, structure, and layout of the website so that it's easier to visually process or comprehend, or change the font between serif and sans serif types. That's a common issue with people suffering from dysmenorrhea or dyslexia.
And that happens at their port or their computer, not.
To an extent, with technology packages that are available to the person accessing the website, those tools are available on their own, but it doesn't meet compliance requirements. An example of compliance tools that would meet the requirements are tools that are hosted on our website. And a common example would be an ADA plugin. These appear on vendor websites, on municipal websites, and other areas as an outline of a blue human being in a white circle. Hovering a mouse, clicker, or other form of tool indicator over that will reveal a pop-up menu with many different adjustment tools. That product is provided by the website, so this would exist on our website. We post it. The changes it makes are plugged into our website, but they occur only for the individual accessing them. It also allows some special settings to be saved and associated to that person's device so that when they find the right set of adjustments that work best for them, they don't have to generate those again.
So, and that would be resident on their device? Or, okay,
So the settings become resident on their device, typically through what's called a cookie,
Yep.
cache or local file.
yeah, okay.
The actual tool, which has more access to the back end of the website than one that would exist exclusively on a user's device, and also doesn't require that user to go and say, purchase an adaptive technology on their own. The tool actually resides on our website. You could describe this in physical terms as the difference between adding an access ramp for wheelchair accessibility to the front of the building. That would be the tool hosted on our website, versus a person buying a wheelchair capable of climbing stairs. That would be an example of an adaptive technology owned and running on their device.
Got it. Okay. How long would it take? One. Two, would you basically take all of the information? Sounds like a big job.
It
Taking
is.
all of the information and incorporating it into one website that will service all of the people who have websites now.
Effectively, there are some details that we're working out with regard to the police department and the terms of the Criminals Information Systems Justice Act. I may be misquoting the name there.
Okay.
There are regulatory terms associated with that about access, security, those types of details that may require us to operate two websites. So we're determining that now. In addition to that, regardless of whether we can create a complete website with all services in one location, or we need to operate two parallel sites to satisfy the terms of the CJIS regulations. It is generally a 6-month project from the point of signature, meaning that when a vendor is selected to provide the product, the start of work would begin that moment, and the completion would be delivery, which would be the town websites,
Mhm.
website or websites, swap over to the new one about 6 months after that. This does not include the procurement phase, which IT has already started to find elements of budgeting to better ID where and what costs there are, what vendors are available, what the current industry practices are.
So you would hire some outside firm to create the new website and port everything over, is that correct?
Yes.
You wouldn't do that with in-house?
No,
So
in practice today, with the scope and depth of just the town municipal website alone, it is a database with a database backend. We host a fairly significant amount of data as these things are measured, but not in the context of a website. There are certainly much larger websites with greater amounts of data, but it's still a pretty heavy amount of data we've got, mostly in the form of records, minutes, agendas, forms, documents, permit systems, and plugins into payment portals where they may apply. So the industry standard in this case, both at the commercial level and at the municipal level, is to generally bring in a third-party firm. This accomplishes multiple IT best practices in that we don't have the data of the website physically in the building, which keeps it from being vulnerable to a major disaster such as hurricane, flooding, fire, etc. We also outsource is the wrong term, and more it would be offshore, because the data would be hosted in the US. This wouldn't leave the nation physically. In doing so, a third-party vendor has their own security team that's much larger than ours. I'm the individual in this group.
That would be
So
John.
they have a full team that provides much more active security measures and countermeasures, along with a suite of tools intended to help cope with some of the cybersecurity and cyber activism that's been seen over the years, such as distributed denial of service attacks that take websites offline, cyber squatting, cyber vandalism, which I described earlier, where someone defaces a website with their material of choice. It makes our website more resilient, resistant, and better able to not be impacted by these, so we don't have a disruption of service to the residents.
how much traffic does the town website get now?
So it tends to vary. It depends on your measure. If we measure strictly on hits, we get something to the tune of 12,000 hits a month. That's not a great measure. It's fairly imprecise because hits are simply measured as unique accesses or
Mhm.
unique sessions. And that can be bots, that can be programs, that can be API calls, depending on how that is done. and then
API.
Direct, application programmatic interface it's a technology term for a website tool interacting with another website at the server level, at a programmatic level, rather than opening up a web page, displaying content, what you would consider a normal access session. It's a more efficient method of transferring data. Depending on how those tools are used, though, they can register as a website hit.
Do you have any measure of how many of those hits are real people sitting there with a mouse?
The closest we can tell being active sessions, meaning more than one web page is accessed in a time frame that's more human.
Mhm.
For example, a bot or other automation would run through the website at approximately 1 click per millisecond. That's a lot faster than a person.
Yeah.
taking a
Can
minute to
read.
see a page, look around, go through some menus. Those types of persistent access sessions where someone isn't, or a robot is not simply looking at the front page and moving on, they tend to be between 3 to 12 seconds per click between individual change, and then usually up to 12 minutes on average, sometimes in excess of 2 hours. Usually 2 hours is more common if someone is accessing the older records, older agendas, minutes, documents, or the Laserfiche archive. On average, we have about, I say about 1,100, I would need to check the records, but about 1,100 of those per month.
Hey,
And it
Jonathan,
Month to month. Yes, sir.
Jonathan, do we currently have any links on the main town website for the other external websites for our services?
They're linked mostly at department page level. So for example, the MyRec committee, I should say, apologize, the Recreation Committee's MyRec tool, that's the name of the website, is linked on the Recreation Committee page. Similarly, the PEG page, I believe, is on the Media Committee page. And then the Newbury 1635 page, which is the Historical Committee's website, until recently, currently does not have a link. It did previously. We had some security issues that we needed to iron out before we could put that link back. One of the problems with multiple websites spread out in this manner is that everyone that links back to the municipal service page identifies it as associated with the town and therefore falls under the requirements of the ADA Act. Right, or I should say the American Disabilities Act rather than words, sorry about that. That extends our liability. As a result, we sit in a gray area at the moment where we have time to achieve this compliance, but we do need to show that we're trying. We have a small measure of attempt in that our current website is built on fonts that are known to be less difficult. Our website is accessible and parsable by a screen reader, though not as well as it could be, and other assistive technologies. In terms of dating and generations of technology, our accessibility toolkit is circa 2016. It has a lot of room for improvement compared to what is currently available on similar websites at other towns.
Got it.
So this I guess, is this in the capital realm because of the cost?
Because of the cost and the likelihood that its useful life will exceed the 5-year mark.
Okay.
Our current website was in place approximately 2013, going by the oldest database entry in it, which
Mhm.
is sort of the start of life
Yes.
websites. Paperwork can cite older than that, but usually it's better to go by when first data entry is made. Or if there's a go live date associated with it. We lack the go live date, the original one, in the paperwork that I've come across. So I'm going by the database entry where the first homepage was visible.
Okay.
We've got about 12 years approximate of current lifespan on the current web page.
That's great.
So the request for $15,000, is that to do the whole job? That sounds,
So that number is actually incorrect.
Yes.
That number I cited based on prior budgets and on initial assessment with just browsing vendor pages and common similar work. I've had, because we're in procurement already, I have to be careful here, but we've had much higher, we've had lower. I will most likely need to amend that number depending on what we land on as our final preferred product. Many of the approaches so far have varied between each other, so there's a need to identify exactly what we need out of the vendor suggestions.
Okay. When would that be updated?
I expect to have an update within about a month.
Okay,
We have
so it's
other vendors currently. working
before
towards their
the
production.
annual town meeting?
We'd have an update, but you don't expect installation.
No, no,
No.
No,
No,
right,
I have an
okay,
update
No,
on
just-
our
gotcha.
potential price range. There is a fair bit of back and forth communication needed. The way the vendors approach these projects is they bring their best and brightest product at the highest possible cost
Mhm.
usually. And then it's a little bit of communication and back and forth and
what do you really need and how much does it really cost?
exactly, there's items.
And
that
to
you
do
can
the
customize. Yeah.
comparison, so we're
Yep.
looking at the exact same products, yeah.
In some cases, vendors will come along with the common product, what works for most people, and we may find that we have an element not common but needed in our installation.
Okay,
Do you have anything else for 26?
There was a second project, actually the original, the first one, IT 2026-1. That was a wiring project at the 44 Central Fire Department location. We've actually resolved that need. The owner of the building and their IT department were able to furnish the changes that we needed to succeed without having to extend anything or request a project.
oh, good,
Well done, Jonathan.
love those. Okay,
Excellent.
yep, okay, that was the infrastructure at the fire department. Other questions, comments? Joe,
Do not.
Richard?
Yeah, I was just curious. It's for the new website, it's town hall, fire, police and library. Is that what I heard?
No, so the new website would contain our initial goal for the project
Yep.
is to have the municipal offices website, currently townofnewbury.org, the fire department website, the police department website, the historical committee's website, so that they don't have to go through the challenges of direct management, the public education government website. I believe that's all of them together. I
Yeah.
approached the library, however, they let me know they prefer to continue operating directly on their own website infrastructure.
Yeah, Richard, they're part of the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium, and their website operates through that consortium, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
It's partially is serviced by the consortium. Also
Right.
with the support of the Friends of the Library. So it really exists without direct investment by the town budget.
Yep, I've used it, yep. And that's hardware and software? 15,000? Do we need any new hardware?
We don't need hardware for this one. That's the other benefit of using third-party vendors is they leverage their existing infrastructure to serve our needs.
Okay,
And was recreation on there as well?
Yes, I
Recreation,
apologize.
yep.
Recreation Committee has a tool called MyRec. It's a third-party vendor tool that provides a cohesive, single website environment intended for reservations, management of those, as well as facilities management. It's been a little challenging in their application, in their practical use, so we're looking to see if we can relieve that strain
Mhm.
and simplify the management for them.
Okay. Nick, any other questions?
Not for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, the last thing that we have to, well, a couple of things to talk about. One, we have to do the rating. And I have packages that I can drop off for Joe and Richard here. All I have to do is find out where they are.
Joe's in Boston.
Joe's in, yeah, well, he lives around here,
Yes, he does.
so I can get the addresses. and just
Yes,
drop them off.
I'll send them over to you. Yep.
Okay. And then we'll get those returned and we'll do the ratings. And then we have the minutes from our last meeting where we had some presentations from the police department, DPW, and fire department. All of those requests are here.
And I did email those to Richard and Joe. I don't know if you can access them. So they,
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to
approved.
Wait, the reading of the minutes?
yeah,
So move.
okay. And all those in favor?
Aye,
Aye, okay, and to approve the minutes as submitted, I entertain a motion.
So move.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Okay, good. I think there is no further business before this body today, so I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn at 3:43.
Well done. So move.
second.
Okay,
All those in favor?
aye.
all right.
Done. Thank you all.